Hey folks, welcome back to Only Best Fantasy Novels. My name is Robin, and today I want to talk about this year's World Fantasy Award nominees. Now, the World Fantasy Award is the only genre award I pay attention to, that I put any stock in. And the reason for that is very simple. The nominees are, without fail, every year, some of the most fascinating fantasy books I read. Even if I don't necessarily like all of them, they do stand out. They always stand out, and this year is no exception. So I'm very excited to talk about the 5 books on this year's slate. Now, the first of those that I want to talk about is Samantha Mills' The Wings Upon Her Back, and this is the story of a soldier with mechanical wings who, after a particular event, gets those wings stripped from her, and which is effectively a death sentence with the way that this society works. And as after that, she becomes embroiled in a resistance movement against this society and the way that it's structured, the way that it operates, and that leads her on a journey of personal self-discovery and to confront and to confront the life that she's led up to this point. So this is a pretty intense story. On paper, it has everything that it just has so much going on that it's a very, very fascinating read. It just didn't work for me for some reason. It just didn't have it just didn't generate that emotional impact for me, and that's the only bad thing I can say about it. This book, setting that aside, this book is a pretty interesting reading experience. Like, the world is very fascinating. It's a deeply technology-driven world. Like, there's gods that are present in this city. The soldier in particular that we follow is part of her god is a god of technology, which is the reason why she had mechanical wings. And well, she had mechanical wings, I can say. And this society is layered pretty much how you would expect a society to be, that is designed to exploit and abuse the populace for the sake of a privileged few. And that's why there's a whole resistance movement against it and all of that. But as to the story itself, we follow 2 particular timelines. In one timeline, we follow our soldier through her early training as she becomes radicalized, essentially, in following the path of this in following this path of war that she thinks she wants. And we see the way that her emotions and her mentality is warped and used to the benefit of the people who are in charge, obviously, or the powers that be, you can say. And then through the present timeline, as she gets embroiled in this resistance movement, and she becomes forced to witness more and more of what this world actually likes, especially now that she's not one of the privileged masses, you can say. It forces her to effectively de-radicalize and to confront and just to review the way that she's led her life to this day, and to really question everything that's come to pass, and to really rethink her one particular character who was a significant person in her life, in the life that she chose. So it's a very complicated novel. It deals with some very intense themes, and the story itself is very interesting. The only negative thing I could say about this book is that even though on paper it has so many things that I would typically find exciting, it just didn't have that emotional impact for me for some reason. I cannot explain why. I just didn't get excited by it. It was an okay read. I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. It was just a read. So that's the only negative thing I can say about this book. So if anything about what I've described sounds exciting to you, absolutely go for it, because this book has a lot to recommend it. Moving on, the next book I want to talk about is The Bog Wife by Kay Cronister. And this is a novel set in the Appalachians, which right away should tell you what's going on, because you never hear about anything good happening in the Appalachians. I have no idea why. Anyway, so this is a gothic fantasy drama, essentially, of a family when the patriarch dies, and the time has come for a ritual to be enacted that will essentially pass the reins of power to the next patriarch of the family. The problem is that something goes wrong and the ritual fails, and now the family is left to forge a brave new path for themselves. And this is a family as dysfunctional as you could get, and it's pretty much exactly what you would think of when you think of a family in the Appalachians. Like they're extremely strange. They've effectively lived their entire lives in their own microcosm, to the point where their beliefs, the way that their own little society works, their beliefs, their identity, everything is so wrapped up in this location that they exist, and the way that they operate and all of that, that you can't even tell if this is fantasy or not, if what they experience is reality or just some weird, just some really messed up stuff. That because it is very much it is very much a family that they exist in extreme poverty, no education of any sort, that sort of like that kind of thing. So you get an idea. Now, all of that being said, this is very much a gothic novel, just in terms of the family and that the way they react is ritual and the way that horror is used in this particular story. One thing that I do have to credit Kay Chronister for is, typically with these kind of stories you would expect like incest and cannibalism and these kind of things, and she does not do that. Instead, what we get is just this really fascinating human family drama of a very different type of family. You can see like the members of this family that are left standing are unique individuals, one and all, and the way that they confront this challenge to their traditional way of life is very fascinating. For some, it's almost like a burden being lifted off of them. For others, it's pretty much the end of the world. And what makes it so fascinating as well is that we have one particular POV who has an outside perspective. It's not much of a spoiler to say that one of the characters, they did leave this little microcosm and went out into the world to realize what the real world is like, and then they came back to this insanity, this little bubble of insanity, and so their perspective in this entire mess was just fascinating. Like overall, this is a very fascinating novel. It's very character driven, as you can probably tell. It's very drama driven. Where it comes to like the mystery and the suspense and the horror and that kind of stuff, this is very much a slow burn, and it does operate in a way where you have to question whether what's being accepted as fact today is even real or not. Like, is something actually fantastical happening here, or is something much more sinister on a human level happening? So it's just a really, really brilliant book, and I think any other year this would probably be my vote for what the winner should be. But we have 3 other books, and 2 of them are straight up bangers. Well, the third one is also really good. I would not be upset if any of these 4 actually win this thing. Like pretty much the only one I'd be surprised if it won would be Samantha Mills. But anyway, and that's speaking purely as a subjective emotional experience. Anyway, so that's The Bog Wife. Moving on, the next one I want to talk about is The Fox Wife by Yang Shichu. I probably butchered her name, I'm sorry. I should have probably looked up how to pronounce that before. Someone in the comments is going to come and correct me because, you know, the internet being the internet. But anyway, The Fox Wife. And this is similar to the Bog Wife. This is a very human, a very drama-driven story, except in this case we have fox spirits. And we have this tale of revenge, essentially. A tale of revenge and a tale of almost a journey of healing. When a mother who loses her child, a fox mother who loses her kid, she sets out in revenge, in a journey of vengeance to get revenge on the person who killed her child. And that's and along the way, you know, we find out more about this fox society. We just come across a gamut of interesting characters along the way. We do meet we do have some other stories that play out along the way, and as a whole, like this is just a very fascinating, almost like a literary fantasy novel where you, like I said, it has a very human, very very deep focus on just dealing with complex, well, maybe not necessarily complex, but just dealing with the ideas of grief and dealing with trauma and healing and finding a way forward and these kind of things. And there's a few other things going on here. I don't really want to talk too much about it because it's one of those books that you speak too much about it and you pretty much strip all the magic from it. Like, a lot of the magic in this book is reading it and reading how it unfolds and how it works. Especially one of the side stories with a person who is trailing the foxwife. So, like, this is definitely one to try as well. And it's a book that, at the end of it, like, I really enjoyed the journey. Even if I can't necessarily put my finger on one specific thing that I just loved about this book, overall it was just a great reading experience. So yeah, that's The Foxwife. Moving on, we have the last two books. Honestly, I would not be surprised if one of these two take it. And the first one I want to talk about is The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman. And this is a interesting entry into the multitude of books that have been written based on King Arthur, except in this case we have a situation where it's a standard setup. We have a knight who wants to go and join the round table, so he trains all his life, blah blah blah. He arrives in Camelot, only to find out King Arthur died a couple of weeks ago, and Camelot is essentially fracturing as the various kingdoms and the various people that Arthur subjugated begin to question the leadership, because there was no successor to Arthur, no clear successor to Arthur. So you have this new knight gathering up the effective dregs, the absolute F tier list of knights that are left, to go and try and hold the realm together, essentially. So and what unfolds from there is very much a tale in the tradition of Arthurian stories. We just have this really epic quest that they go on, and we do get shout outs to so many of the so many different elements of the Arthurian canon and these kind of things. You can say, like, it's a surprisingly engaging book, because Lev Grossman you have some very creative ideas, and he does put a very modern twist on the story. Like, one of my particular favorites is the one particular knight who's a Saracen, and his POV when he thinks of civilization compared to where he is and the way that they think of civilization, like that I just love that. That was my personal favorite thing about this entire novel, I would say. That being said, like, it is a novel that it just does so much. Like, it exists in a world where that draws very much on, I would say, real world British history, where we have it's at that time where, like, you almost have like a passing of the guard from the Roman the Roman times towards what would eventually become Britain. You have it's at the time where, like, magic is beginning to potentially re-enter the world, or exit the world, you could say. Like, it has a lot going on in that aspect, just in the way that the world itself operates. It's just a really fascinating book, and a surprisingly engaging one as well. Like, I initially did not plan to read this book whatsoever, because I just cannot handle another story surrounding, based off, or inspired by King Arthur. Like, I've had my fill of that. I don't want to read another one. If this book did not appear on this list, I would not have touched it. But it ended up being a really engaging, a really entertaining, a really fun experience. Which is why I say I would not be surprised if it wins the award. And last but not least, the other book that I suspect has a very strong chance of winning the award, and probably the most popular one on this entire list, is the second book in Robert Jackson's Menace Shadow of the Leviathan series, and that is the Tainted... Oh no, this is the first book, sorry, the Tainted Cup. This is the first book in the Shadow of the Leviathan series, and this is our introduction to two detectives, we should say, a la Sherlock Holmes and Watson, in a fantastical biopunk world where like, technology and ecology are blended in a very fascinating way. It's a very strange world that's almost a blend of that's got, like, elements of it's almost it's very biopunk, and it also has elements of some other popular some other popular IPs I don't really want to touch on. Why spoil the surprise? But it is a very engaging story. Like it is a mystery at its core. My and over the course of this novel, like, you know, like these two characters, they're so interesting, the way that they operate, the way that we introduce this world and how it operates and all of that. It's like, this is a very strange place, and just the world building itself is just extremely fascinating. The story itself is engaging. The mystery is absolutely fascinating. My one complaint with this book is that it does the one thing that I really dislike when it comes to mystery stories, and in that the answer to the mystery is something that was not that was not teased at any point. Like it used outside information which was not revealed to the reader in some form or the other at any point. So the reader is incapable of figuring out the mystery without that particular knowledge that's introduced at the final moment. And that's just a personal pet peeve for me. I hate when mystery novels do that. But this book as a whole, it was just really entertaining. Like it at the end of the day, it is very much a fantasy story, so there's some action in here. It's just an absolute slow burn mystery as well, with some interesting character dynamics in these things. And once again, like, the world building is an absolute standout. And like, the second book is already out, and I can tell you it only gets better. So those are the 5 books on this year's World Fantasy Award nominee slate. And like I said, I would be happy with pretty much any of them winning. Even if Samantha Mills were to win it, like, I wouldn't be shocked, because her book is very good. It's just that it didn't resonate with me emotionally. And like I said, this slate, it just, I've been reading these awards religiously for like 8 years now. The nominees list for like 8 or 10 years now, and this list, like every list before it, once again it proves it. These books prove to be some of the best fantasy fiction I've read this year. So do with that what you will. Absolutely check this out. I think the winner is going to be announced in another week or so. So yeah, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.